Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap some of our top guests from the past week that appeared on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the TV show. You can catch it streaming live Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock Central Time on WIBW.com. We're in the capital of Kansas, the great city of Topeka. The first full week of the new year has a lot of people looking ahead to 2024. That's what our guests on Eye on Northeast Kansas were doing this week. State and local leaders, federal leaders were all on hand coming through, along with economic leaders. Let's start with Kansas Senator Jerry Moran. He is back before heading back to Washington, where he talked with us about some of those top issues they'll have to address. Some deadlines coming up quick. Happy New Year, Senator.
Happy New Year, Melissa. Great to be with you.
You are going to be up against a very tight deadline once you return. It has to do with the budget. So what sorts of things are involved in this part of the budget deal that's expiring?
You know, further evidence the difficulty of Congress being able to solve problems quickly or on time. So we are operating under a continuing resolution, meaning that we fund the federal government at its current levels, last year's spending, into the new fiscal year. That took place, that should have been funded starting October the 1st. So we had a continuing resolution to get us to December and then now to January and February. Half of the budget expires in half of the appropriation bills expire after the middle of January. The other half expire the first weekend in February.
What's in this half?
So this half is things that are, I mean, all of them are important, but I'd highlight agriculture, for example, important to Kansas, making sure that USDA offices are open and that people are at work. But all of them matter, and the issue here is really the Senate has passed. There are 12 appropriation bills that fund various functions of the federal government, various departments and agencies. All of those 12 bills have passed the Senate Appropriations Committee. 3 of them have passed, 3 out of the 12 have passed the floor of the Senate. But what's missing is the agreement. If you think back to the Speaker reached an agreement with President Biden about spending levels last year. Then the House didn't live up to that agreement and appropriated at levels lower than that. So House has bills at lower spending levels. It's a Republican majority House. We're a Democratic majority Senate. Our spending is what the agreement between the president was and the Speaker. The question is, we got to get those resolved so we can finish up those appropriation bills. And maybe the good news is that at least it's reported that they are close to the House and Senate reaching that number.
And you'll have perhaps more details on that when you go back.
Yes, I hope so.
You know, one topic of discussion that has been part of this and kind of a sticking point is how much do we support other nations and how long do we continue that? Of course, the war in Ukraine is approaching 2 years. That's been one item that the U.S. has sent aid. Now we also have the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and how much do we support that? How difficult is that to come to a resolution on? I think people understand wanting to be kind and supportive. They also understand wanting to support people here at home.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of suggestions that we have lots of problems here in the United States, and we ought not be spending money elsewhere in the world. The problem is if we don't spend money elsewhere in the world, those problems pretty quickly come home to us. It's not like we can avoid what's taking place elsewhere. And so there is this so-called emergency appropriation bill that funds the things that you talked about, additional aid for Ukraine in fighting Russia, the aggressor, the evil attack of another sovereign nation by Russia, to help them. Then we had Hamas and the events in Israel, also South China Sea and China and their efforts. They are growing their defense spending in dramatic ways that are threatening to the United States. And you add to that Iran and the mess that goes on with terrorist activities even before the Hamas attack. So there is a significant appropriation bill to deal with those things. Republicans have said to the White House they didn't take us seriously early on, so we've been slow in getting an answer. But we also believe that there is a national security crisis, not only outside the borders of the United States, but at the borders of the United States.
And I was going to say, this is not a one-minute answer, but what can we do at the border to address the migrant influx that we are seeing there? And if people are going to come in, how do we assist the states who are seeing the population settle there? Not just Texas, but Texas is saying we can't do it alone. We need to send it other places too.
So Republican senators almost unanimously are insisting that if there's going to be aid to other countries, we're going to take care of our border, that national security crisis. and we're not satisfied with just more money for even Border Patrol agents or additional miles for a wall, the Biden administration has to change their policies that encourage people to come, and the policies that when they do come and claim amnesty, they are simply released into the population with a court date months down the road, never to be seen again. And so if the administration's plan for support around the globe, which is important, is going to happen, the Biden administration is going to have to change its policies in regard to amnesty and catch and release.
And that debate is going to be coming up very, very quickly.
The rumors are that there is a deal close in the works.
Okay, well, you can keep us informed
I'll
on
do
what
it.
the solution is, or at least in the short term, what we will do. Senator
I'll do my
Moran,
best.
appreciate seeing you. Thank you. Have a good New
Listen,
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.
And you can bet we will be following all of that activity on 13 News. The state legislature returns to session next week, and they have some big issues on their plate. We brought you our conversation with Governor Laura Kelly, a Democrat, earlier on the podcast. This week, we hear from Republican leader of the Kansas House of Representatives, House Speaker Dan Hawkins. So welcome, Mr. Speaker. Glad to have you here.
Hi, Melissa.
How are you looking ahead to the session? What kind of mood do you sense among your membership?
You know, I think everybody's actually ready to go. When we get to this point, people are just ready to get back and kind of get into the swing of things. Taxes are going to be really one of our biggest priorities. You know, last year, the governor vetoed our tax package, and we came up one vote short of an override. So we'll probably be doing that type of package.
Will it be the same flat tax? That's what we're talking about. Will it be that same type of proposal, or are you going to tweak it?
No, it'll be a flat tax. We're probably going to tweak where that's at. It probably won't be 515 again, so we'll come in with something else. But I think that it'll be something that we can get maybe hopefully some more votes on. Property taxes are going to be important. That's probably one of the things. As I went across the state this year, actually Ty, the Senate President, and I did a tour across the state. I think we went to 10 different cities. And everywhere we went, property taxes was a big thing. And they are. I mean, when you got your property tax bill, it really...
True, but what do you do at the state level? Because what the locals will tell you is we didn't raise the mill levy, so we didn't raise the tax. Your tax bill is higher because the assessments went up, which a lot of people say, oh good, my house is worth more. But how do you keep that from at the same time making the tax bill go up?
And that's one of the issues, real issues is we only have 21 and a half mills that are available to us to work with at the state level. 20 mills is for education, and then 1.5 mills is for building and maintenance. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 mills off of our 20 mills, and we'll backfill. That's the education piece, and we'll backfill that education with state general funds.
So you're saying that it won't result in reduced education funding because you will find the money elsewhere. Yes. I want to ask you about Medicaid expansion because that is, of course, one of the governor's top priorities. Why don't you let it come up for a vote?
You know, actually, it came up for a vote many, many times.
But not last session.
No, it didn't. Last session, the amendment that they brought was ruled not germane. So when it's ruled not germane, then it doesn't get a chance. So I'm sure that they'll try again this year. And when they do, we'll have a vigorous debate. The votes haven't changed. I'm counting votes all the time. The votes are not there for Medicaid expansion, haven't been. You go back to 2019 and 2020, they were. In fact, it passed the House back in those days. But since then, the votes have not been there for it.
Well, the governor told us she's going to target membership and taking her pitch directly to constituents and then to the membership in the hopes that, would you allow a specific Medicaid expansion bill to come to the floor?
As far as there hasn't been one to come to the floor, and there's been one there's not been one that came out of committee. Her particular bill, I'm not fond of it. I mean, she says that she has given us everything we wanted, which she hasn't. It's not a work requirement. The work requirement she got is a joke. All you have to do is prove that you got one paycheck a year. That's the work requirement. And then if you can get a hardship exemption, which there's no definition of hardship exemption, the Secretary of KDHE can give you a hardship exemption, and then if you take it to the federal level doesn't allow work requirements. They have really actually the last 13 have all been done away with. And so the Biden administration hasn't allowed work requirements. She knows that. If she was really that serious about it, would she have put in there a severability clause that if the work requirement's not allowed by the federal government, then Medicaid expansion would just stop? No, she didn't do that. You know, she wanted to make sure it goes through. So that is really, when you look at that work requirement, it's really laughable.
Would you support any type of Medicaid expansion?
I'm not a Medicaid expansion supporter.
Even if the public is saying it, even if the hospitals are saying we'll kick in foot part of the bill for it.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Melissa. So they're going to tax. Who pays for that tax? You do. I do. If we use the hospital, we're going to pay that tax. So it's not free. You're going to pay for it. Everybody's going to pay for it. Why do people not get this? This is something that truly is an albatross around the states. I'll give you one right now. Indiana. Indiana's $1 billion in the hole on their Medicaid expansion. $1 billion. Can you imagine if we were $1 billion in the hole on ours? States are starting to feel a pinch, and it's got to be that way because of the way the system works.
Well, it is a topic we will continue to follow. We hope to touch base with you throughout the session because we just did a couple issues today, and there are so many more things that I'm sure will be up for debate.
There's a lot.
Speaker Hawkins, appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Melissa.
Legislative. Monday, January 8th is when the session convenes. The governor will outline her budget proposal on Thursday, the 11th. The night before, on Wednesday, the 10th, she'll be delivering her State of the State address. We'll have all of that coverage on WIBW.com for you. Economic leaders are looking ahead to big things in the new year, not just in Topeka, but all around Northeast Kansas. Jason Smith is the president of the Greater Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce in the Little Apple. He's dropped in to let us know what's on his plate this year. He is here in the studio, our first guest of 2024.
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
We are glad that you could come over and that the snow held off, so you didn't have to worry about that for your drive from Manhattan.
Absolutely. Although I would have driven through the snow to get over here. So
you had a sleigh.
I would have been excited to do it.
You have your purple tie because Manhattan has a lot of great things going for the year ahead. One of them, you just activated the Elevate Fund. What is that and how does it work?
So at the beginning of last year, actually it goes back a little further than that, but our community decided that we needed to focus on how we could engage and increase our startups in the community. So really promoting and supporting entrepreneurial ventures. And as we talked to the entrepreneurs in the community, one of the items they continued to focus on as being a challenge was access to capital. And we heard it from our tech community, we heard it from our minority community, throughout all the different kinds of entrepreneurial segments that you had, that seemed to be the overriding issue. And so we went to work on how we could address the gap that we had in startup capital. We have a great partner in Network Kansas, which is a statewide organization, and they have some programs that we're able to implement in Riley County and Pottawatomie County, but there's some parts of Manhattan that don't qualify for those things. And so as we sat down, we worked with our partners at the city, we worked with our partners at Kansas State, and we developed this Elevate Fund concept. And basically it is a startup fund. It's for very low or entry level, lower needs, and so $4,000 to $15,000 typically. And so these are people who maybe don't have a lot of history yet, and so they really need to come in, get a loan, get some history as they start up, and then they can go to a bank later, or it could come alongside a bank loan if they needed to fill in a gap a little bit. And so we're able to deploy this throughout the community.
You had to get buy-in for it though. So who has been giving some of this money?
100%. So we are initially funded through the Economic Development Sales Tax, which is collected by the city. And so we went to the City Commission at the beginning of 23, got permission to fund that. It takes longer than I thought to develop the actual implementation of that, because you have to develop all the rules and regulations. Again, using our partners at Network Kansas, they're going to be the administration on the back end for us. Spark MHK, which is a nonprofit in the community, will manage the intake, and it's all locally assessed and approved. So, and alongside that, we had another fund that came in through Network Kansas because of this, called the Empower Fund, and we're the fourth community. Topeka got this a couple years ago, but we're the fourth community that will get this, and this is one specifically dedicated to minorities. So a really big improvement into that ecosystem in Manhattan. And we're excited to see where that leads for us in 2024.
And you can start applying for it now. That's kind of the big deal and the good timing on this.
SparkMHK.com, and you can see all the programs that you can be eligible for and all the requirements. And then there's an online application that you can look at right there.
This is part of a new strategy for economic development in terms of really trying to jumpstart some new, young, small, diverse companies. What do you have happening to maybe update your overall strategy in Manhattan?
So our last economic development strategy was developed about 7 years ago. And so we are going to engage in 2024 in an update on that. It won't be the full-blown big community meetings where you do visioning, those kind of things. It's more of a very strategic look at our programs and policies and make sure that we are following best practices and that we're doing all the things that we need to do to maximize our opportunities for jobs and private sector growth.
There are some very big public projects underway in Manhattan. What's going on in Aggieville? You have something, you've done things in downtown?
Yeah, well, of course, the big project that we've completed in 2023 was MBAF and all the activity that went around North Kimball. And so if anybody that's been in for K-State athletic events, I'm sure has seen all the improvements that were made there. But at the end of December, the city commission approved helping fund a project in Aggieville, and it'll be a new 80,000 square foot multi-purpose facility, so office, residential, and retail. And then across the street will be a new Hampton by Hilton, which is a new name I learned, 108 rooms, and then a new parking garage. And so there will be a lot of construction in Aggieville, and that's, of course, part of the whole Aggieville redevelopment project.
And is this are the new buildings going to take out any older existing buildings, or are you having some open space that can be utilized
so the office facility is was on an existing parking lot, and so that's actually in process. The hotel and parking garage will be, there's an old strip center called Handy Corner that has gone probably to its limit in terms of its capabilities, and so that'll be cleared, and that's where the hotel and the garage will be.
And real quick, you have something fun today.
We do. We're about to announce our 15 under 40 class, which is honoring 15 individuals in the community under 40 who have gone above and beyond, and I was in the committee that picked that today, and that'll be announced probably within the next few hours, if not tomorrow.
All right, well, we will keep an eye out for that. Funding.sparkmhk.com if you're interested in that Elevate program we were talking about. Also, Manhattan.org is the Chamber's site, so you can see what they all have in the works. Jason, thanks so very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Glad I was the first guest.
You bet. Happy New Year.
We will follow the progress on all those projects in Manhattan. In Topeka, the Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce has a new president. Her name is Juliet Abdul. She's been on the job since November and paid her first visit to the Red Couch this week.
She finally gets her first Red Couch visit today. Welcome to the studio and welcome to Topeka.
Well, thank you so much for the welcome and for having me here. It's a beautiful studio.
You have been in Oklahoma and most recently in Colorado.
That is true.
How is Topeka maybe different and the same?
Right, so every community is somewhat different, somewhat similar. There's people in every community, so similar personalities, similar drives. I would say coming back here to Topeka, it's very similar to being in the Midwest. It's nice people, it's a slower pace, it's an appreciation for life, and it's an opportunity to grow a community into the future.
What do you see as the biggest strength in Topeka's business community and development plans currently?
I would say the Greater Topeka Partnership, and it's not just tooting my own horn, but we have this entity that's made up of Go Topeka, our economic development, Visit Topeka, which handles all of our visitor functions and activities, the Downtown Topeka and Riverfront Authority for the riverfront development and downtown merchants, and then the Chamber. And they're all working together to move the community forward, cross-collaborating to work with industry, to work with residents, and make sure that all of the needs are met as much as possible. That's unique. That's not in every community. And so it's something that inspires me. It's what drove me to apply for the position, and just to see all of the initiatives that we have on our plate and the things that we're able to chip away at.
Where do we need to put our focus?
So for me personally, I will tell you, my focus for 2024 is legislative affairs and priorities. That's city, county, state, and federal level.
What needs to change there?
It's to continue to have an aggressive voice for the business community. So in the past, and people ask me, who did you replace? I say, well, this position has really morphed into my strengths. It's focused holistically just on public policy. And so I really get to have that voice at the state level, at the state capitol, being at city council, county commission meetings, and representing the voice of our businesses, most importantly, what they're facing in and out on a daily basis. It's also being able to shape and grow our political action committee, which helps to outreach in the community for people that are interested in seeking office to educate existing community members and those that are in office on priorities and issues that are important, and then to endorse potential candidates that would represent us best. So,
what have you learned about public policy in our area that needs to change in order to help businesses thrive more than they maybe are or aren't currently?
So I've been here for 7 weeks, and I can tell you in 7 weeks I've had about 175 meetings. One-on-one.
Each with a different idea.
Each with a different idea, each with a different, perspective of things and an interpretation. Honestly, there are the right people, it's the right time, and it's the ripe opportunity to make things happen.
Any common theme in all of those 175 meetings?
You know, one of the biggest things is that people have seen this underappreciation for the amenities that we have and the progress that we've made in Topeka. And coming from Colorado to Topeka, it's not bad. It's not a community that is completely underground or hasn't really developed. There has been development, there's been progress, and I think the biggest hiccup to that is that there are some people that aren't recognizing that. There are some people that haven't seen that because they live it and they breathe it. It's kind of like when you live in Colorado for as long as I did, 7 years. I can't tell you when I went to the mountains.
Okay, you forget there are mountains there.
Exactly.
What would you like to change? Is there some area that we've maybe been kind of let sit on the back burner that needs to come back forward?
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Momentum. The Momentum program is an effort for us to tackle social issues that are affecting our business and vice versa. And so we had an iteration back in 2022, and then we revamped it back for the 2027 efforts. And that touches everything in the community that we need to address that we're currently experiencing as challenges. I would tell people to go look at our Momentum 2027, and then I would tell anyone else, if you're interested in our public policy positions, we have a state legislative policy priorities agenda. We also have a regional policy priority agenda that's with our partners in Manhattan, Emporia, and then of course Topeka and Lawrence, working together on some significant issues we both face.
Takes collaboration and everyone. Juliet, thank you so very much. We look forward to seeing you more often.
I look forward to being here. Thank you.
As you heard her say, she'll be working with state lawmakers, and so she will hit the ground running. We mentioned earlier, they are back in session next week. One group that has been active in Topeka for nearly 2 years now is called Topeka Promise. They were formed as the war in Ukraine broke out after Russia invaded Ukraine, and many people were trying to find a way to get out of that country. But where would they go? The city of Topeka reached out to help. Yana Ross, with the city, who lives in Topeka, had actually relocated here from Ukraine 18 years ago, and she was asked if she could find a way for the capital city to help out. She visited Ion Northeast Kansas along with Jennifer Whale and Marie Popanko, who is one of the people who relocated to Topeka from Ukraine. They told us all about Topeka Promise and a new event they have to support the cause. Yana Ross founded Top City Promise. She is here with Jennifer Whale, who chairs their fundraising committee, and also Maria Potapenko, did I get that correct?
Right.
Oh, good job. Maria moved from Ukraine. She is among the refugees who are here. She's also a board member of the organization. Welcome to all of you. And Yana, you yourself moved from Ukraine, you told me 17 years ago?
Yes, that is correct.
So why did you form Top City Promise, and what is it that the group does?
So in the beginning, right after the war started, Greater Topeka Partnership reached out to me, and because I'm originally from Ukraine, they asked me to lead Ukrainian Refugee Task Force. That is when the volunteer effort started. There was so many refugees in Europe, and Europe was not able to sustain all of them and help all of them. So when the program opened up for US to welcome them, Topeka also started to welcome them.
And what do you hope to provide them with?
So support. Our main goal is to providing them support, safe housing, ways to find employment. And so our motto is giving them hope, giving them help, and giving them new life.
And Maria is smiling when you say that, because how did the organization help you, Maria?
Personally, me, when I just arrived in Topeka in January 2023, I did not have anything. And Top City Promise provided me with accommodation, with English classes. They helped me to find a job. They helped me to place my daughter into school. When I just come, it was an apartment fully furnished with even food inside.
And food inside.
Yeah, with everything. So for me, it was like miracle. We just come with one luggage It was 3 of us, me and 2 my children.
And you're coming to a new country. You didn't know
Right.
anybody here. How did you find out about Topeka?
I just scrolling internet.
Yeah?
Yeah, and
Looking
they-
for a place to go.
Yeah, and I found Jana Ross, and she called me and say, okay, you can come if you want.
And now you're part of this organization to help give back. But
Yes.
Jennifer, there are about 150 people in Topeka now through the program. You have a waiting list. This takes resources. So what have you come up with in order to hopefully gather some more resources?
So to continue our efforts with the refugees, we have a fundraising gala February 24th at 7 p.m. And there are many different ways to help out in the gala through sponsorships, purchasing tickets, and in-kind donations. The sponsorships are a great way for businesses to get involved because it includes marketing, and as a nonprofit, all donations are tax deductible. And in-kind donations, we can accept any kind of items or services that we can use in our auction. And currently tickets are being sold online at our website at topcitypromise.org. And we welcome anybody who is interested in learning more about Top City Promise and what we do to help the refugees, and to hear from the refugees themselves to come and purchase tickets. We will have speakers, refugee speakers, and we'll be hearing from Maria. Maria will be speaking, and we have another Maria who will be singing there. And it's just a great experience to hear from all of these refugees who previously they were business owners, and we even have doctors, and they were professionals before they came. And due to unfortunate circumstances beyond their control, they had everything taken from them. And Top City Promise gives them the opportunity to pick themselves
We'll
back
put the
up.
information on the screen one more time. The gala is taking place February 24th. That, by the way, is 2 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Tickets $100, topcitypromise.org. Jana, Maria, Top
And
City Promise.
we-
There's
we
the
have a
shirt.
gift for
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow. February 24th is that inaugural gala, and of course that is the 2-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We have the links for ticket information, also how to support Topeka Promise on WIBW.com. That's also where you can find the video from all of these segments and all of the guests that you find on Eye on Northeast Kansas. I also post them on our WIBW 13 News YouTube channel. Be sure to click subscribe to that while you are there. And I post them on my Facebook page, WIBW Melissa Bruner. Check out those links, along with all the studio selfies we have. Off to a new year of fun from Eye on Northeast Kansas. Glad you could be along with us this week. Until next time, we'll see you on the Red Couch.